Hello and welcome to this myEcon presentation. The government will pay you to run a home-based business. Guys, my name is Larry Haley, and I put this presentation together for myEcon associates so that we can all understand exactly what we have our hands on. I once watched a video with Ivy Stokes, and he talked about people when they say they're quitting. He says, well, I don't think you really understand what you're saying when you say that. And so it resonated with me, and I started digging more and learning more about exactly how beneficial this membership is. And for some of you, if you're not aware, in your back office, there's a pamphlet in your membership called "The Government Will Pay You to Run a Home-Based Business." So understanding the tax advantages that there are just for having a home-based business, if we really understood that, we would never ever quit. We would have a business for the rest of our lives. And I actually heard a woman say that on one of the webinars when I first started a couple years ago. She said she's had a home-based business for the last 20 years, and she said she's going to die with a home-based business. And I really didn't understand exactly what that meant at the time, but now I have a much greater understanding of it. So, guys, we know that our membership is the income shifting membership, but that is the business as well. And our business is $47.90 to join, $34.95 a month. And for an entire year, it's $432.95 for the first year. So we know that that's what the membership costs us. That's what the business costs us for the entire year. Now, we know, obviously, there's other businesses out there that cost much more than that to get started, but our membership is only $432.95 for the first year. And so for this example, we're going to go through the first two cash flow strategies, correcting the tax withholding and minimizing taxes. These are how the government is going to pay for our business, right? So when people get started, whether they're able to correct their W-4 or not, you got to understand that there are tax advantages associated with just having the business for things that we do every day. So let's go into first correcting the tax withholding. So this little guy here is named John, and John is one of many people overpaying taxes. And we know that 8 out of 10 Americans are overpaying their taxes by an average of about $300 per month. 80% of Americans overpaying their taxes. So for 80% of people, we usually can help them with our first strategy of correcting the tax withholding. And so usually using strategy number one, the income shifting strategy, typically helps associates give themselves about $200 to $800 per month in a raise by correcting a W-4. So in this case, John is going to get started, and in this example, John followed the strategy and gave himself a $400 per month raise. That's about the average increase that I've seen, and that's an extra $4,800 annually. We could stop it right there, and already the membership is already paid for. This is what people got to understand when they say, well, I don't have $34.95 a month. You know, I can't afford that. The government is paying the bill. The government's footing the bill just using our first strategy, because we're going to help you get that money back. Even if all we helped you get back was $50 a month, the membership would be free. You would still continue doing what you were doing, you know, with your life and with your money before, but the membership would be free. So up front, we help you get the membership paid for and have the government do it for you. That's the first thing we do. So the government has already paid for this membership. But now let's go into the second cash flow stream, and that's minimizing taxes. So we know that one of the biggest ones is the car and truck expenses. You're able to write your mileage off, or you can itemize if you choose to. Whichever you do, those are huge tax deductions that you get for your vehicle. So again, you want to be writing off your mileage when you drive your vehicle. Brian Bean said if you don't have a business, every mile you drive, you might as well just throw some change out the window, because when we don't write those things off, we're actually losing money. And that's the difference between an employee and a person that has a home-based business, or any business for that matter. Employees can't write anything off, anything like that. They can't write their mileage off, but we can when we have a home-based business. And we typically spend between $6,000 and $8,000 a year on our vehicle, so that can turn into a huge tax deduction for us. The next one is your communications and your household expenses. So that can save you anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 a month on average. That's more money that the government is willing to give us back because we have a home-based business, and we simply kept track of our expenses and wrote those things off. Next up, travel. So now the average American spends between $3,000 and $5,000 annually on vacations for themselves and their families. So now we can write off our vacations. We can write off our trips because we have a business, whereas a regular employee can't write those things off. Now we get that as a tax deduction. We no longer take vacations, we take family business trips. And so once you start getting into it, you'll learn how to make sure that you do business, that you have the intent to do business when you go on your vacations, when you go to meet somebody. Whatever the case is, it's all about the intent of what you're doing, and you're intending to do business, or at least attempt to do business. Next up, wages for your children. So if you have children between the ages of 7 and 17, they can be a tax write-off up to $12,000 for expenses that you have on them. You simply will hire them to work in your business, and now when you hire them to work in your business, the money that you were giving them anyway for allowances, for lunch money, for school, for sports, for summer activities, or whatever the case is, those now are tax deductible up to $12,000 per child. Now here's what you got to understand with that deduction. Somebody's going to get the deduction. It should be you. But if you don't have a business, for anybody that doesn't have a business and they have to send their child off to go work for McDonald's or Foot Locker or wherever, those stores are going to get that $12,000 deduction because we don't have a business to employ our own children. That's another reason why we should have a home-based business, so we can get the tax advantages for ourselves instead of giving the tax advantages away for other businesses to take advantage of and make money or get money back off of our kids. We need to hire them and work in our own business. So let's look at some examples and what that would actually mean to have some of these tax deductions. So minimizing taxes, let's look at car and truck. So mileage, you're going to get a 54.5 cents per mile tax deduction for every mile you drive for business. In this example, John drove 6,500 miles for business purposes. So 6,500 times 54.5 cents is going to give John a $3,543 tax deduction. That's not money he's going to get. That's actually the tax deduction he's going to get, meaning his taxable income will be lowered by that amount. That's going to translate into about an $886 tax return. So just that deduction alone pays for the membership more than twice. Now we have home and communication expenses. That's $800 a month for John that he's spending. Now, many people may spend much more than that or much less than that. For this example, John is spending $800 a month, and that's $9,600 a year. Now, the way the home tax deduction works is you're going to get the percentage of your household that you use for your office space. That same percentage you're going to get as a tax deduction. So, for example, if you have a 2,000 square foot home and you're using your office space as 400 square feet, that's 20% of your household. So you're going to get 20% of your household expenses because 20% of your household expenses are essential to you running your office, your home office. So 20% of the $9,600 is going to be $1,920. That's the tax deduction you get. But that tax deduction is going to be equal to about a $480 tax return. Once again, the government has paid for our business just because of our household expenses that we were writing off. Next deduction is travel. So again, the average person, the average family spends between $3,000 and $5,000. So John, in this example, spends $4,000 for his business travel expenses. That's a $4,000 tax deduction. He's going to get a $1,000 tax return just for that tax deduction. And then lastly, or next up, is wages. John has 2 children, and he spends about $5,000 on each of them throughout the year. That's a total of $10,000. So that's a $10,000 tax deduction that John is going to get for doing things that he was doing every day anyway, right? Taking care of his kids, giving them money for school, giving them money for this and giving them money for that. Those are now tax deductions because they work in his business, and that's equal to a $2,500 tax return. So again, you can see clearly we're getting much of our money back, much more than of our money back than we ever put into the business. And in this example, this is John, who has not worked the business. He has not worked any of the other strategies yet. He's just taking advantage of the tax deductions he gets simply for having the business. Now let's look at some miscellaneous business expenses: meals, training, business cards. John is spending about $100 a month on average for those expenses throughout the year. So $1,200 a year is going to give John a $1,200 tax deduction, and that's going to be equal to about a $300 tax return that John is going to get because he wrote those expenses off during the year. And lastly, the membership fees. So our membership, the cost of the membership is tax deductible. The $47.90 when you get started. The $34.95 every month is a tax deduction. In total for the whole year is $432.95. So that tax deduction is going to give us about a $108 tax return just for that. So again, all of these things that we do every day and then things that we do for our business are all tax deductions that we get. And in this situation, John has not worked the business. He has not made a dime, but he's getting all of these tax deductions because he has a home-based business. Folks, this is why we got to understand there's advantages to having a home-based business that you don't get when you are an employee. So let's look at the total cash flow advantage that John has received. Up front, John got $4,800. He got $400 a month back by minimizing or correcting his W-4, and he got $400 a month back there. That equals out to 1,108% of a return on investment just for that. So if we stop right there, you're talking about 1,108% return on investment just for that. Again, like I said in the beginning, we can stop right there, but we're going to keep going because we got the actual expenses that we're writing off. So car and truck expenses. John got an $886 tax return for his deduction on that. That's a 205% return. His house and communications expenses. That's $480 he's getting in a return for that. That's a 111% return. Travel, $1,000 return. That's a 231% return on investment there. The wages for the children, $2,500. 577% tax deduction there for writing off expenses and money that he spent on his children that he could not write off before. The miscellaneous expenses, $300 gives us a 69% return on the investment. And lastly, the membership fees were $108 return. That's 25% return on the investment. So let's not minimize that. I know you see 25%, you say, well, that's not much compared to everything else. But where can you go invest and get 25% return every year? A 25% interest rate every year. Not many people can do that. And if you understand how money doubles, if you understand the banker's secret, the rule of 72, your money's going to double every 3 years for 25%. It doubles at 72%. So in 3 years, he would have gotten 75%. His money would have doubled if he were investing at 25%. So that in and of itself is huge, just the return he gets on the membership fees. So in total, John is getting a cash value back of $10,074, all because he has a home-based business. John didn't do any major things. If we took out the miscellaneous expenses, if we and didn't get any business cards, didn't go to any training, it's still almost $10,000 that John has gotten an advantage just because he has a business. So when people say, I don't know if this is for me, I got to think about it. They need to understand this. People need to understand this because we're walking around doing these things every day and not getting the advantage for it. And the difference between most people and wealthy people is wealthy people know that they can do this. And so $10,000 is a, for some people it's a small example. For some people it's a large example because everybody's expenses are going to be different. But depending where you are, whether if you get $3,000 back, that's still a huge return on your investment of $432.95. A huge return. Some people may get even more than that because they maybe drive more. They maybe spend more on their kids. They may have more kids in that age range, right? They may do more travel. They may have higher expenses for their home. So there's people who are going to be all over the place on what they get back. But again, the government will pay you to run a home-based business. And so for anybody that is a 1099, we can just take the $4,800 off, and they would still have a $5,274 advantage, $5,274 advantage, which would still be a return on your investment of 1,218%. So whether you have a W-2 or not, it pays you to have a home-based business. So again, people that say, this is just not for me, it's just not working out, I'm just going to go get a second job. Do you really know what you're saying? $10,000. I worked a second job for 7 years. I did not, and this is not $10,000 before taxes. This is $10,000 you're getting back. I did not bring back $10,000 when I worked that second job for 7 years at all. And I had to give up 20 hours a week to do it. This is a tax advantage that you get. You don't have to give up any extra hours. So like I said, you have people who say, well, you know what, I'm gonna go get a second job. They need to see and understand this. All right. Now, for anybody wondering how to calculate the return on investment, the return on investment is based on the $432.95 that you pay for the membership for the entire first year. If you divide the return by $432.95, you get the return on investment. So, for example, the correct tax withholding, $4,800 divided by $432.95, you get a 1,108% return on the investment. All right. So, do you see why everybody needs a home-based business? Everybody needs a home-based business, right? And lastly, can you really afford to quit? Can you really walk away from that kind of money because you didn't have the time to learn, or you didn't understand and didn't want to ask questions? Can you really afford to walk away from this, knowing that this is what you're leaving on the table, knowing that this is what wealthy people are using that money to take that money and get out of debt and invest with, which I didn't even get into using that money to invest or get out of debt with. And I'm going to show you, I'll give you a couple of bonuses that should show you what that would look like. So John got a cash advantage because he had a home-based business of over $10,000, because he simply had a home-based business and he learned how to keep track of his expenses using his cash flow manager. He tracked all his expenses throughout the year so that he can get the tax deduction and have the government not only pay for the membership, but the government clearly is paying for many other things for that amount of money he's getting back. So again, do you see why everybody needs a home-based business, right? And again, can you afford to actually quit? I know never plan on quitting because I understand this. And I'm glad that I understand this, and I hope to help everybody else understand this too, because this is going to be the difference in, what separates us from people who don't do it, because we'll be able to use this money to eliminate debt and to start investing and to build wealth over time. So I'm going to go give you two quick bonuses on what it would look like if John said, I'm going to take this money and eliminate debt and then put that money into investments. Because not only do you see why everyone needs a home-based business, I'm getting ready to show you why everybody needs a myEcon home-based business. So bonus number one, after saving the $10,074 on taxes, John decides to start following his debt elimination plan. As a result, John will be debt-free in 3 years, saving himself $1,000 per month. That's an extra $12,000 per year that will come back into his household, and his total cash flow then will be $22,074 saved annually. So look below. You see the 833? That is annual. That is the $10,074 annualized that he saved for his tax advantages. It's annualized that at 833. That's $833 a month he has that he can put towards his debt elimination plan. So we're going to go ahead and pay off the debt of the credit card of $8,000, the car note of $28,000, and the student loan of $18,000. And because we got an extra $833 a month, we put that towards the debt elimination plan. Just the $833 is going to help us pay off $54,000 in 35 months. Less than 3 years, actually, but we'll just call it 3 years. So by 2021, John will be debt-free. And he didn't use any of his own money out of his pocket, aside from what he was already paying on those bills. He used the money that the government gave him for having the home-based business. So he saved himself an extra $1,000. Annualized, that's an extra $1,833 a month, or $22,074 annually. Now, what could you do with an extra $22,000 a year and you're debt-free? You can do some serious damage with that, right? But John said, you know what? I'm going to keep following the strategy because I want to follow this plan all the way through. So now I'm going to go ahead and invest that money. I'm going to invest the whole $22,074 because I'm debt-free. I ain't got much to worry about. I was doing okay with paying my other bills. I got a couple raises or whatever. I'm okay. So I'm going to put the whole $22,000 into some investments. So now that John is debt-free, it's time to start investing that extra cash flow. So John goes out and he finds an investment paying 10% annually, and he starts investing the $22,074 yearly for the next 15 years. Now, why 15 years? Because he did his cash flow strategist, and he said, I want to retire by 2036, and I want to retire living off of $6,000 a month. $6,000 a month is $72,000 a year. So in 15 years, John's investment at 10%, investing in $22,074 in 15 years is going to turn to $759,000. John can now live debt-free, and he can live off the interest only of the money from his investments. And the interest every year at 10% will be $75,900 annually that he can live off of for the rest of his life. And it only took John 18 years to do this because he had a business and he took advantage of the tax deductions that he gets for having the business, and he used that money and put that money to work for him. Folks, that is what income shifting is all about. We have to shift the money that we're losing and shift the money that we are missing out on the tax advantages for back into our pocket so we can eliminate debt, so that we can put the debt money back into our pocket, so we can shift that money into our investments, and that's how we build wealth. And so John will be financially free in 2036. $759,000 is in his investment account, more than what he needs to live off of to make his $6,000 a month. You only needed $720,000 to get to the $72,000 a year to make $6,000 a month. He's actually got almost $760,000. So he's going to have $75,900 that he can live off of monthly or yearly for the rest of his life. And the money from the investments, the $759,000, will stay in there until he passes on, and he can pass that money down to his family, and they can start building generational wealth with that money. And John never started working the business. He never built the business. Now, he had to attempt to make a profit, but he never actually built the business. He never was successful in building the business. Imagine if John was actually successful in building a business. He would actually put some gasoline on this fire and build a bigger fire, and he could really blow this thing away. So again, 18 years, John had a business. He understood that the government would pay him to have the business. He used that money to eliminate his debt, and he started investing the money because this was money that he didn't have in the first place. So it was out of sight, out of mind. He put a system in place. He put that investment on autopilot, and this is what he built up in 18 years. Now you tell me, do you have a plan within the next year to create an extra $10,000 if you don't have a home-based business? Do you have a plan to create an extra $20,000 in the next 3 years if you don't have a home-based business and you're not actually building a business or actually doing some other job or whatever the case is? And can you actually be financially free in the next 18 years, living off of $75,000 every year for the rest of your life, not having to get up and go to work or any other business? This is why you've got to have a home-based business. This is why everyone should have a home-based business, but this is also why everyone should have a myEcon home-based business, because we're not going to leave you at just the tax deductions. We're going to show you what to do with that money so that now you can put that money to work for you and start to create income, start to create assets where your assets are creating income for you. So this is what it's all about, and this is why, again, it's important to understand that the government will pay you to have a home-based business. So that is what I wanted everybody to be able to see, to be able to understand this. You need to watch it a couple of times if you didn't catch it, so that you get a better understanding of it. I know for those of you who have not done this, or those of you who are new to this, this may seem a little confusing for you. But just understand this. If you walk away, you're walking away from all of those tax advantages that you would have. And it's very simple. All you got to do is track expenses for what you were doing anyway. Again, that's money that you were spending anyway, and you don't want to walk away and leave that kind of money on the table and the ability to get out of debt and build wealth for your future because you didn't understand what you had in your hands. And like Ivy said, if you walk away, you really don't know what you're saying. All right? Thank you for taking the time out to watch this video. I hope you get everything you needed out of it. I hope you got a full understanding of not only what we have in myEcon, but what you have in a home-based business. And now you can take advantage of it, and now you can share that with other people and share the knowledge of what you just got from this with other people when they say, I don't know if I want to do it. I'm not sure. I got to think about it. They need to understand the type of money that they're missing out on Because if it's two people standing next to each other, one doesn't have a home-based business, one does. Well, the one that does is going to clearly be much better off for having it than the one that doesn't. All right? Thank you guys again for taking the time to watch the video. Enjoy the rest of your day.